I just wanted to help.
I know you did, but we talked about this. Right? Right? We talked about this. You have... Oh, Clark, you have to keep this side of yourself a secret.
What was I supposed to do? Just let him die?
Maybe.
Hey there everyone, Barnaby Unemployed here, and this is A Single Moment, a series where I review a film through the lens of a scene or sequence, and today I'm going to be talking about and defending the Pa Can't Truck Maybe Let the Kids Die scene from 2012's Man of Steel, directed by Snyder.
You believe your son is safe?
I will!
Now, I know a lot of people don't actually like this scene because they think it betrays the morals of the Kents and the character of Superman as a whole. I mean, Pa Kent is blatantly telling Clark to not save people, and that's a big change in direction for the character, no doubt about it. But I think a lot of people view Pa Kent's attitude from a very outside-looking-in perspective, wherein knowledge taken from other materials, other movies, TV shows, comics, are applied to criticisms of this piece of media right here. So in the case of Pa Kent and the whole maybe let those kids die thing, I get what Pa Kent is trying to do. If you watch the scene, it's obvious that John, his real name's not Paul, is uncomfortable with the whole conversation and isn't sure what the right thing to say is. When Clark asks him if he should have let those kids die on the bus, John hesitates and replies with a somber maybe. John doesn't want to tell Clark to let people die or that he shouldn't help when he can. He wants to nurture Clark's sense of responsibility, but at the same time, John is a dad trying to protect his son from the most evil monster of all, the American people. And I say American people because they seem to be the only people really up in a tizzy about Superman, while the rest of the world is like, dude, help. I think if you take away Clark's powers and framed it as a narrative about fame, John's reaction seems much more reasonable and relatable. He wants Clark to be a person, someone who is able to have moments of happiness and peace on his own terms, and not someone who is answerable to literally every issue that arises. I get the sense that John knows that should Clark reveal himself and start saving people whenever he can, Clark is now responsible for more than just himself and his family, and the weight of that isn't something you take lightly. It certainly isn't the kind of burden you allow a child to carry before they're ready. I do like the message that just by having Superman exist, there would be consequences to his presence, and I agree that's something Superman should actively weigh in his mind before he commits to an act, especially if that act takes place outside the borders of the US. Now, I think the franchise went too far into making Superman emotionally stunted and incapable of proactive action to keep him from handling each problem immediately, but the core idea of this is sound. John in this scene isn't Pa Kent, a narrative tool used to simply showcase why Superman is a cool dude, or why his salt-of-the-earth upbringing allows his incorruptible nature. He's John, a surrogate father trying to balance his son's abilities as a potential force for good or bad in the world, and a selfish desire to protect his son from the worst parts of American society, and maybe even protect American society and the world from his son. For all John knows, Clark could be an angel, an alien species, a robot, a messiah, a spy from the future, a Saiyan, some strange combination of all the above. He doesn't know. He doesn't know what Clark is or what Clark can do. Sure, he pulled that bus out of the river, but John has no idea what the upper limits of Clark's capabilities are, or even will be, and honestly, that's terrifying. This is an assumption, but it wouldn't be a stretch to say that John might very well be terrified of and for Clark, scared of what could be done to him, but also of what Clark could do to other people. John in this scene comes off as incredibly human, someone scared of the future and of Clark's potential. He wants to do right by his son and he doesn't want to lose him. He isn't perfect, he's selfish, he's short-sighted, and I understand why he does what he does. He doesn't know Clark is going to grow up and be Superman. Clark could easily just get pissed one day and accidentally pop someone's head off because there's no way to guarantee that won't happen. There's no amount of good parenting or folksy Midwest wisdom that can stop someone from being selfish or cruel or making a single mistake that can have irreparable damage. This scene to me is about a father passing on his fear and his trauma onto his son in a weird but understandable way of trying to protect him. There's a decent tragedy in there somewhere, and while the movie doesn't explore it fully, I really do enjoy the scene and it remains one of my favorites of this film. People argue that Superman shouldn't be gritty and realistic and that moments like these are inappropriate for a character who proposes that he can move the planet out of orbit and then just put it back.
Maybe I could move the Earth out of the way.
If we had a week, I couldn't list all the reasons that won't work.
He should be iconic and heroic and empathetic, and yes, Man of Steel and the subsequent releases fail to even give us a solid core for the character who stood in a room of charred bodies for a hot couple of seconds instead of immediately helping. I mean, he did that.
Nothing to do. And no hope of things getting better.
But the truck scene, at the least, is a very open, genuine conversation between a father and a son trying their best to figure out a situation they both know nothing about. In an emotionally honest moment, a father lays bare his fears upon his son for better or for worse. For all the bad things the DCEU has given us, I think the truck scene should definitely get a pass from all the hate. There's a scene later on in the film with another daddy that I think deserves far more hate than this scene does and contributes to the failings of this universe's Superman far greater than Pa Kent ever could. So what do you all think? Do you agree with me, or do you still think the scene sucks and that it should have been written, developed, or directed differently? Let me know in the comments below. If you like the video, hit that like button and subscribe, as I'm looking to bring you more content just like this. Thanks for watching A Single Moment, and I'll see you all next time.